What up, childrens? Old man back shouting at clouds. Yuck. This is an icky one. So the last week has been a pretty unpleasant time to be paying attention to the news. There was yet another school shooting, and there was also an assassination of a pretty high-profile person in the political space, and the reactions have been like bucket of yuck. Doesn't even begin to describe it. So to me, yet another school shooting is the one that as a nation we've got to reconcile with the fact that we have a major issue on our hands. If that wasn't already obvious before, I don't know why this would be the wake-up call now, but this has been going on far too long. There's clearly an issue here. We are unique in the volume of these events that we have. And, thoughts and prayers, enough already. Like, clearly that's not getting the job done. We need more than thoughts and prayers. Probably just stop sharing that. You go ahead and still think about people and pray for them, but if that's all you're doing, maybe just sit this conversation out. The rest of us, and particularly I'm speaking to people who are not at either political extreme. Like, if you find yourself not all the way left or all the way right, we are the people that need to speak up, because we've been, I think, probably largely silent on that, because I think a lot of people in the middle just don't really want to wade into the cesspool that is political discussion and political discourse at this depressing time in our country's history. But we don't get to sit this one out. Sorry, we don't. And at this point, I think all solutions need to be on the table. Now, does that mean you're going to necessarily go with a solution like removing all guns? No. No. I mean, I think what we should do is be intentional about this, but we also need to be serious about it and say the number one most important thing is stopping this from continuing to happen. And however we need to get there, we need to explore those options and do it meaningfully and not treat it as a political football. So that's thing one. And unfortunately, I just have the sense that a lot of these issues are going to fall to your generation to fix, because my generation and the generations older than me seem to largely be too far gone, right? Too politicized, too, going to either extreme and unwilling to yield or even think about solutions that don't agree with their political leanings. And so, unfortunately, it may fall to your generation to fix it. And so that's one motivating factor in making this video, is that I want you guys to learn from the failings of my generation and older generations and be better at having the tough conversations. And you don't have to view people who don't immediately agree with you as the enemy. You have to, it's like being married, okay? Even if you disagree with that person, you have to find a way to move forward together, all right? You're in this union. You've got to do it. You have to figure it out. And I think that's what being a member of this country should be, but it certainly isn't right now. And nothing highlights that perhaps more than the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And wading through social media as that was unfolding was honestly like one of the most disappointing, disheartening, soul-crushing experiences I've had in a while, where I usually try to convince myself to be optimistic about this country and that, brighter days are to come and we can do this and we'll figure it out. This last week has shaken that belief. Like, I don't know if there's a path forward here that allows us to come out of this thing stronger and together. Because, I mean, I saw what I would consider to be somewhat nauseating posts on both sides. I will say that I thought the nauseating reactions on the right were not as vile as the nauseating reactions I saw on the left, which was I will say both in my mind should probably just take a hot minute and get off social media and like maybe go find a church or something. But I'll address them both. All right. So on the right, what I saw was a bunch of treating Charlie Kirk like he was a saint. And I'll be fully transparent here. I don't know enough about Charlie Kirk to argue with people about him as a guy. I don't really know that enough about him to argue about his beliefs. Like I just don't. I'm not saying good, bad, or otherwise. It's just not a person I have enough familiarity with to tell you one way or another how to feel about him. Like, I don't know. You're going to have to figure that one out on your own. But the like over the top posts treating Charlie Kirk like he was the second coming of Christ, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that there's some hyperbole there. And like, I don't know what it is about somebody in the public sphere, but like when somebody in the public sphere dies, it seems like we have to go massively over the top and just like completely whitewash their legacy and like elevate them to sainthood, or we have to just bash them like they're Hitler. And I don't know if this is all algorithm related, so hopefully that's all it is, and there's a whole lot more rational people that are speaking and you're just not seeing it. But if it isn't, and this is like, God, we've got to get so much better at this. Like, I have seen some quotes and some snippets since this happened of Charlie Kirk. Were they taken out of context? I'm sure that they were. Were they selectively chosen? I'm sure that they were. But I've seen enough stuff come out since then that I feel confident in saying Charlie Kirk is not the second coming of Christ. I feel comfortable standing on business on that. I also feel comfortable saying that murdering him in front of his family and many, many, many other college students was also not justified and extremely wrong. And the people laughing and cheering for this, in some cases, honestly, it was just like really, I mean, disappointing doesn't begin to sum it up, but like it was shocking for me, which again, maybe I don't spend as much time on social media. Maybe this shouldn't surprise me. But some of the people saying this stuff, I was like blown away. I'm like, man, is this really how you feel? Like you're honestly celebrating somebody being murdered? I mean, this, again, if you take the least charitable interpretations of the things that he's said, I still don't, he doesn't rise to like Hitler levels. Okay. When Hitler gets shot, I don't think, and you have my permission to celebrate that. Somebody takes out Pol Pot, you have my permission to celebrate that. Charlie Kirk, this doesn't rise to that. Like, this is somebody whose views and opinions you can disagree with and you can find reprehensible, but gunned down? We're going to cheer for that? People, look in the mirror. Is this really who you are? I don't know, man. And this is another one where you guys want to know why I don't want you on social media. This is a big part of the reason I don't want you on social media, because I think people lose their minds. They're like, I'm on the internet. I can say whatever I want, and there's no consequences for it. Like, there are consequences, I promise you. People are seeing these things, and maybe they don't speak up, but they're looking at you in a whole different light from that moment forward, and probably should. Like, you need to really evaluate if that's how you feel and if that's what you should be saying. Because you put that stuff in the public sphere, people can't unsee that. They're going to remember that you said that. You could delete your comment all you want. They'll know you said it. You're going to know you said it. Like, guys, we got to be better than this. Especially if you think Charlie Kirk was promoting a hateful agenda. Your response to that is just different hate? Man, have we learned nothing from history? And not to, like, set aside the moral component of this, which I don't think we should do, but let's set it aside just for the moment and let's talk pragmatically for a second, okay? When you resolve, major quotes, resolve your differences with violence, you don't resolve anything, okay? What you do is you create more violence, all right? Like, I hope you learn this lesson young, guys, but problems that you solve with fists, bats, guns, bullets, bombs, pitchforks, torches, they don't stay solved. Sorry. They only stay solved so long as the person on the receiving end of that feels they have more to lose by responding than by not responding. Eventually, when somebody's been under your boot long enough, they stop caring. Okay? You beat up somebody one too many times, they will punch back. Like, it's just, it never doesn't work that way. It's like inevitable. Okay? So to think that you're going to solve any, and by the way, this all assumes that the person who shot Charlie Kirk was in fact a liberal extremist. We don't know that answer. It seems reasonable to suspect it. I'm not over here trying to dunk on anybody who's assuming that. I assumed it as well. It seems reasonable to suspect. And so far, the early evidence seems to indicate that's the case, although I have seen counter theories. I don't know if there's any truth to that. And we probably need to maintain a healthy degree of skepticism until the investigators have finished doing their jobs and we have as close to a conclusive answer as we're ever going to get. But it does seem reasonable to expect that this was motivated by a difference in beliefs. And just, that isn't how you solve it, folks. That's how you create an even bigger problem, right? Civil wars have kicked off from events like this, okay? There are already people talking along those lines. And not lunatic fringe, your crazy uncle. These are like politicians, senators, saying it's on now. Like, I don't know if people grasp how dangerous this is. That's the part that really scares me about all this dialogue online is like, we got people fanning flames of a situation that's very close to going critical. And when it goes critical, that fire could be all consuming. And that's another thing that I find so despicable about all the like saber rattling going on in social media is it's like I don't know what percentage of the people I see making those kind of comments would actually pick up a weapon and get on the front lines. I'm going to guess a very tiny fraction of them would. So they're puffing their chest out, they're talking all tough. Most of them would be more than happy to sit on the sidelines and watch, cheer for the home team. Like, that's disgusting. You're gonna make irresponsible comments that lead other people to take actions that send us down a path to a lot of death and destruction that you are assuming someone else is going to pay the cost of. Like, that is a level of cowardly that needs to be called out. Like, man, if you're not like a war veteran saying that stuff, I almost don't want to hear you. Like, you've had your opportunity in the last 25 years to pick up a weapon if you're so tough. and you didn't. So stop. Like, this stuff can and does happen. And if you think it's going to pass you by, folks, I got another thing to tell you. Like, if this becomes Civil War Part 2, I don't know who gets spared in that situation. Like, we didn't have machine guns in the 1860s. We didn't have drones. We didn't have fighter planes. Like, do you know how ugly this will get? Obviously not. Obviously not, which is why we need cooler heads to prevail. We need rational people to walk this thing back from the precipice. And instead, we have the opposite type of leadership right now. We have leaders who are doing nothing but fanning the flames. And that, to me, should almost be enough for, like, you need to step down from office and let almost literally anybody else pick up the mantle, because that to me right there is proof positive you aren't cut out for the job you have. Like, if you're feeding into that right now, you're 10 times worse than the crazy lunatics shouting about this on the internet, because, you know, they're just a random whatever. You're a public representative. Like, the expectation on you should be higher. And instead, you're feeding right into it, doing the same crap. Like, ugh. So, at any rate, I mean, I didn't just come out here to vent my frustration. What I came was to do was, unfortunately, the sad tidings that I think solving this problem is likely to fall in your lap, because I think my generation and older is just giving up the ghost. Like, we weren't equal to the internet, you know, the like, too many keyboard warriors, not enough rational thinkers. And it may well fall to your generation to clean up this mess. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we find our way. But hard to see any indicators of that happening right now. So, one, you're going to need to be made of tougher stuff than we have been. And then number two, what's the path forward? The path forward is talking, listening, rational conversation among cool-headed adults. That's the solution. Figuring out, like, if this country is to survive, we have to start acting like this is a marriage. Like, people you don't agree with, it's still a marriage. Like, you have to find a way to get along. At least you have to find a way to care about something else more than you care about your differences. You have to care more about the sanctity of this union. You have to care more about the future. You have to care more about working together than you than you care about dunking on each other and being right. If you can do that, this country has a future. If you can't, sorry to say, it probably doesn't. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the optimistic takes are the right ones. I hope my generation can learn from this and do better so that we're not leaving you to clean up this mess. But if we are leaving you to clean up this mess, I hope I'm at least giving you some tools with which to get started. So, hopefully my next video is a little less bleak. I love you very much. We'll talk to you on the next one.